Well, good morning, man. It's June the 20th. So we turn to the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, for God's daily dose of wisdom. And as I was reading through Proverbs chapter 20, verse 16 jumped off the page, and it reads like this: Take his garment when he becomes surety for a stranger, and for foreigners, hold him in pledge. Okay, what are you talking about, Lord? Well, we see this idea about taking a garment when you become surety for a stranger in another place in Proverbs. In fact, those very words are in Proverbs 27, verse 13, where we read, Take his garment when he becomes surety for a stranger, and for an adulterous woman hold him in pledge. But when you read into those words, the adulterous woman is actually the foreigner or the strange woman. And so Proverbs 20, verse 16 and Proverbs 27, verse 13 are almost identical. So what is surety? What is he talking about? Well, surety is collateral. That's how we would call it. It's to make a loan sure. So this is a legal transaction that's taking place between the person who is giving the loan and the debtor who is asking for the loan. But the debtor doesn't have the ability to pay back. And so what he does is he asks a friend, or in this case, a stranger, to stand in for him, to become surety for the loan. It's collateral for the loan. And what that means is that if the debtor is not able to repay the loan, the guarantor or the surety or the collateral would be responsible for the loan, and he would have to make the payment. Now, it's a legal transaction, and so in order to secure the word of the guarantor, the word of the surety, you would take his garment and you would hold on to that. It's not that the garment itself is the collateral. No, it's a symbol that this person who owns this garment is the guarantor of the debt. It's a promise. It's a symbol of the promise. It's proof that you made the agreement to stand in for the debtor. Now notice something. This person who has become surety has become surety for a stranger. He's not the debtor. He's standing in the place of the debtor. He's the collateral, and you take his garment as a symbol of the promise, but he doesn't know this person. He's a stranger. So you don't know the character of this person necessarily, or if he's going to be able to pay the debt. And so it was considered very foolish to become surety for a stranger's debt. And it's warned against over and over again in Proverbs. Now, remember a couple days ago, we talked about the holiness of God, that sin cannot exist in the presence of a holy God. It was in Isaiah chapter 6 when Isaiah was being commissioned to be a prophet to the nation of Israel. And he was swept up in this vision, and he was caught up into the very throne room of God. And he said, Woe is me, I am undone, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I come from a people of unclean lips. And what he was expressing was that sin cannot exist in the presence of a holy God. What does that have to do with the proverb of the day? Well, we read in Romans chapter 6, verse 23, in the very first part of Romans 6:23, for the wages of sin is death. We are the debtor. We are in debt to God with our lives because of our sin. But Jesus stepped up and said, I will become surety for Ken. I will become surety for you. Jesus did what many would consider foolish. He stood in the place of me to pay for my sin, knowing that I could not pay for it myself. In many ways, I was a stranger to Jesus when he did that. I was his enemy. I was not following after Jesus when he stepped up and he said, I will become surety for Ken. Wow. But we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 25, because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. What many would consider foolish, Jesus did out of an act of love. The gospel of Christ is here in Proverbs. Who'd have thunk? Take his garment when he becomes surety for a stranger, and for foreigners, hold him in pledge. That's what Jesus did for me and for you. My brothers and sisters, I love each and every one of you. I pray that you go out and you make a difference in someone's life today. God bless you.